Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. I'm excited to be here to talk about job search mastery and hiring decision with my guest, Tom Caravela. Tom, welcome to the session.
Hi, Tolu, and hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here.
Good. Thank you. I'm going to read your introduction quickly. Tom Caravela is a career service expert and entrepreneur with 30 years of professional experience. He's a business owner, certified speaker, trainer, coach, and as a podcast and best-selling author. In 2002, Tom founded an industry-leading executive search firm, the Caroline Group, which caters to pharmaceutical and biotech industry. Tom is also the host of the popular medical affairs podcast, MSL Talk, which has achieved over 500,000 downloads in over 100 countries. His book, Job Search Mastery: How to Win Your Dream Job, is an Amazon #1 bestseller and currently guiding job seekers all over the world. Tom is on a mission to help others to achieve their full potential and in their professional life and career areas, as well as personal achievement of their goals and dreams. Please help me welcome my guest, Tom Caravela.
Well, thank you again. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to chat for a little bit.
All right, thank you so much. All right, now we're going to be talking about your book, an exciting book. I read it, was very educating. Thank you so much. All right, from the book, we get into the conversation. 73% of Americans think finding a job is one of the life's most stressful experiences. Success rates can range from 2 to 10%, which means the days of applying to a bunch of jobs and landing one quickly are gone forever. Wow, thank you so much for that. That is quite scary. I remember the days when my dad would say, well, when they finish college, people that are hiring actually come to the door and knock on their door to see who needs a job. Those days are gone forever. So I can relate with that clearly.
Yeah, it really shows the shift of where we are now versus what it used to be and what it was when I got out of college. It wasn't. When I graduated college, so I went to Rutgers and I graduated in 1990, and I had secured a job in, I think it was January, and my start date was June 15th. I'll never forget. So I literally graduated college, and a week after graduation, I started my first job. It's very difficult now. It's not the same. I do think you should start early when you're looking for a position, and there's a lot obviously that you can do. That's what the whole book is about. But you do have to be proactive. No one's coming to knock on your door.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for our guests from being here. If you are here, please let us know where you're joining from. Put your name in the chat. And also, if you have questions for Tom, Tom is an expert that's been in the industry for a long year. So we are just here to learn from him today. Thank you for joining, Asti. Good morning. Thank you for joining, Marilyn. We appreciate your joining the session today. Thank you so much. All right. One of the things you mentioned in the book, your book, is the power of imagination. And my question is, how important is the power of imagination in job search? And for people who are still trying to figure out their dream job, any quick suggestion for them to figure that out?
Well, I think this goes beyond the job search. I think that it's important for each of us to take time, I would say every day, to get in your own thoughts and visualize what it is you want in your life, whether it's your job, whether it's your significant other, whether it's physical. You know, how do you want to look? Who do you want to spend your life with? What kind of car do you want to drive? What kind of house do you want to live in? What kind of job do you want to do? And if you, like, for example, in my world, because I specialize in MSL recruitment, if you want to be an MSL, start to imagine you being an MSL. What does that look like? How are you going to feel? What are you going to wear? Like, imagine what you're going to like look like as an MSL. Start picking out mentally, pick out the outfits that you would wear. See yourself sitting across from a key opinion leader, having a scientific conversation. Because that, first of all, it's free. There's no cost and there's no downside to living in your imagination, at least a little bit, right? You know, for certain points during the week or like I said, during the day, there's no downside to it. What happens is it gives your mind something to work towards, and you now start chasing that. But the way to really get it to the point of manifestation, the way to really kick in the process is to start to feel what it's going to feel like. So just imagine, how excited are you going to be when you're, you know, getting on the plane the first time you're going to fly out to go see a KOL? How's that going to feel? How gratified are you going to be? Imagine how great it's going to be when you look at that direct deposit the first time you get paid the big money to be an MSL. Like, start to feel it, feel that joy and feel that excitement, because that's what's going to accelerate that manifestation.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. Good morning, Linda. Of course, thank you for joining from Michigan. Excited to be here. Please, if you're here, please let us know where you're joining us from. And also, if you have questions for Tom, please let us know. Exciting. All right. So, also from your book, approximately 70% of jobs never get published publicly on the website. That's a big number. What is the best way for a candidate to have a shot at this 70% that is probably never get published on the website?
Yeah. Well, I think what has to happen is, and I talk a lot about this on the book, is we're in a different time now. We're in a time where personal and professional branding are super important to your job search journey. So, you know, we have tools like LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. I would say that Facebook and Instagram are a little less, I think they're a little less advantageous and effective in our industry, in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry, as LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place to go. And I think that by establishing your brand, having a presence on LinkedIn, you now can put yourself into a community that you're trying to get into. So, for example, if you want to be an MSL, well, there's MSL groups, there's MSL influencers, MSL leaders, and there's MSLs that you can connect to. And the more you connect with these people, the more you interact, the more you engage, the more likes, comments, and shares. That activity is going to boost the algorithm for you now to appear in that community. So now you're going to now be privy to and be able to notice the individual job postings or the individual announcements that people will put. Like, some people just put posts and say, hey, I'm looking to hire an MSL in Cleveland, Ohio. Right? It's not an official job posting. It's not on their website, but it's being broadcast on LinkedIn. So being able to have access is half the battle. And then the other half is getting noticed. So yeah, it's challenging because not everything is posted, but you have the advantage of LinkedIn, which puts you in the community, so you still can find a lot of those positions where normally back in my day we didn't have LinkedIn.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. I think the questions are coming in from Hasti Ashadi. As a P2, what are the most important skills I need to improve to become a well-rounded candidate for MSL?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the skills that you need to be a well-rounded MSL would, and it doesn't matter necessarily what your background is. I think that the skill set that hiring managers look for is pretty much all the same when it comes to MSLs. They want really strong communicators. So someone that has a really good executive presence and can communicate both one-on-one, but also in front of groups. You may be needing to do presentations at times. So you need to be a good communicator and a good presenter to be a good MSL. You need to have emotional intelligence. And what's that mean? It means you have to know how to read people and read the room. So when you're sitting across from a KOL, you're not just having a conversation, you're also picking up signals from that KOL. You're looking at nonverbal cues, and you know how to respond and create a connection and develop relationships. So being a good relationship builder is part of having good emotional intelligence. So you hear that term a lot, but a lot of people don't really know what that means. It really means your ability to connect with people, to read people, to develop relationships. That's really, really important. It's at the core of what an MSL does. Yeah, do you need to be scientific? 100%. Do you need to have scientific acumen and maybe have some clinical experience or clinical knowledge? The science is a big part of it, but you asked about skills. So these are skills that you need to have on top of the scientific acumen to be successful as an MSL.
Wow, good. Thank you for sharing that. Still along that line, and we can also talk about the conversations with recruiters, and when recruiters are trying to make their decisions, how they make their decisions. So, for example, in the book, it states that 83% of recruiters say that they are more likely to hire a candidate who has tailored their resume to the specific job they are applying for. And my question is, what are the strategies to quickly do that without wasting time, so that a particular candidate can at least apply to as many roles as possible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what everybody's doing now is using, AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude. Essentially what you want to do is you want to tailor your resume to the language of the job description. The fastest, easiest way to do it is go to ChatGPT and put in your resume, put in the job description, just attach it and say, I am interested. Your prompt would say something like, act as a career coach or professional resume writer and help me tailor my resume specifically to this job description so that I can apply to the position. But do not, what you want to do is you want to put in the prompt, do not over exaggerate my skills and or experience, remain truthful in the claims that you're making. Here's the thing, here's where people get into trouble.
Yeah.
If you use ChatGPT or any of the other AI platforms to do this, it's going to do it. but it's going to do it probably better than it should. And it's going to, in a lot of ways, a lot of times, it now makes you into something that you're actually not. It's an exaggerated version of yourself. So you now have to edit, and you need to really apply like truth to that exercise. You have to make sure that you're 100% able to support any claims that are being made. The other thing too is ChatGPT, a lot of people that create these resumes with AI, they all look the same. So some of them are, it's like black and blue ink. So like the headings and titles and stuff like that is like, it may be like in a blue color. It just gives it away. It's like, this screams ChatGPT to me. Change all of the font color to black. Just keep it professional, especially for the pharmaceutical industry. Whether you use ChatGPT or not, you don't want people to think that you did.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for saying that.
And you can also do it manually. So what I just described to you, you don't have to use ChatGPT. You can literally just take the job description, highlight the language, keywords, and phrases, take your background, and just try to use that language to define what it is that you're saying you've done that makes you a good fit for that position.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that, Tom. Really, that's really powerful. If you're here, you just join us, please let us know where you're joining us from. If you have a question for our guest, Tom, please put it in the chat. He's going to be able to answer that question. So still in the line of the resume, trying to tailor the resume to the role and things like that, one of the things you mentioned in your book is the use of keywords, which you just said. And there's a danger of using too many keywords in the particular resume. How can somebody guide against that in the process of saying, well, I'm going to try to tailor my resume, but then at what point will the recruiter say, well, I think this is too much?
Yeah. Well, I think my rule is you try not to use the same keyword more than twice if you can avoid it. So for example, if you were to say that you're seeking a position as a medical science liaison / MSL, but you also say that, for example, that you are an MSL in a current role, and you have like an MSL title in 2 or 3 different roles. Well, that's acceptable because you're putting in there that you are an MSL and you're looking for an MSL role. It's justified. But if you just will like take a word, so say for example, the word is KOL engagement. Let's just say that's, how many times are you going to need to say that or want to say that without it look like it's posturing, right? So now if in each of your different experiences, that's part of your job, well, I would mention it, but maybe mention it in a different way. So you can use the word KOL engagement, or you can say disseminating scientific information to key thought leaders. You're saying the same thing, but you want to just switch how those keywords are being utilized. So I would say you just have to be careful and use words in the context that they're meant to be used. Titles are titles, but keywords sometimes can get overblown, especially if they're overused for no purpose other than just putting them on there. And the other thing I will caution you is a lot of times people will have keywords in their professional summary, which might be right at the top of the resume. And then they have the same keyword in core competencies, and then they have the same keyword in the body of the resume somewhere. You don't need to do that. You know what I mean? Just, use it where it's relevant.
Yeah, good, good. Thank you for sharing that, Tom. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So one of the things you also mentioned in your book is increasing visibility, being visible to talent acquisition partners, recruiters, and also the hiring managers. Any suggestion on how a candidate can do this so that it's also that they are getting noticed based on their interest and what they are trying to achieve in terms of their career path?
Yeah. Well, so there's a couple of different ways to go about this. One of them we already discussed, which is LinkedIn. Being active on LinkedIn and engaging on LinkedIn. So a lot of times people they'll listen to me and they'll say, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn every day. Well, are you engaging? What are you doing on there? Are you liking, commenting, sharing? What exactly are you doing on LinkedIn? So the engagement is the key. That's how you get noticed. If you're not engaging, if you're not posting content, if you're not a part of the conversation, then you're just listening to the conversation. You're in the background. No one's even really probably even noticing that you're there. So it takes engagement. The other thing is this, in order to get noticed, you have to make the effort. So just like you have to have engagement and activity on LinkedIn, you also have to have engagement and activity, whether it's via email or in-mail or, reaching out to folks. Maybe you go to a conference. You and I have met at conferences now, right? You're showing up at ASCO, you're showing up at MAPS. There's no better way to get noticed than to show up. No better way. And a lot of people are like, they think that they can do this entire thing behind a screen where you're never engaging with anyone. That's false. You have to engage, whether it's virtual engagement or physical in-person engagement. And because of all the conferences and, here's the great thing about, where we are in this day and age. If you want to, let's just say for argument's sake, you want to be an MSL. Well, there's MSL conferences, there's MAPS, there's the MSL Society, there's places you can go. If you want to be an MSL or you want to get into industry and you're a subject matter expert in a certain area, so let's just say it's oncology or hematology, right? Well, if it's oncology, you go to ASCO. Just, pay the money, go to ASCO, take the trip, get the hotel, pay for the pass to get into the exhibit hall, and put yourself in that room with the right people. If you're a hematology expert, you go to ASH. You go to the American Society of Hematology, 100%. That's where everybody goes. There's next week. I think it's next week is. I think it's June 14th to the 17th is the sleep medicine conference.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have a background in sleep medicine. You want to be an MSL? Yeah, that's where all the companies are going to be. They're all there in one place. Do the homework, do the research, find out where you need to be and show up.
Good. Wow. Thank you so much. Show up as often as you can. Thank you, Tom. That's really powerful. Still talking about your book here. One of the things that you mentioned is mentoring. The idea of getting somebody to mentor the person. And for people who are thinking about having a mentor, how can they get into that conversation and how can they know who is the right mentor for them?
Yeah. Well, again, you first have to decide what's your career journey going to look like? What's your path going to look like? Okay, so I keep coming back to the MSL thing because it's so obvious and easy, and obviously that's my background, so I'm just going to use that as an example. But listen, we could be talking about pharmaceutical sales. We could be talking about, sales engineers. graphic designers. It doesn't matter. You pick a lane and you put yourself in that community. So when you look at the medical affairs space, the MSL space, there are MSL specific mentors, MSL specific coaches, MSL specific recruiters. We're all out there and we're not hard to find. We're all posting content. So to find an actual mentor that's going to personally mentor you, there are people out there in your field that you should go out and seek. Now, keep in mind, you may have to pay for it. A lot of mentors or coaches are going to charge money to do it. And to be honest, you get what you pay for. I mean, it could be a very worthwhile and it could be a very good investment. If you don't have the money, well, you can still be mentored without spending any money. And what I mean by that is just listen to my podcast, listen to the MSL Talk podcast. It's free. And it's basically a mentoring program because all of the guests that I have on are giving you advice about a specific topic and they're experts. Or it's me getting on there and I am doing a solo episode and I am sharing my advice with you. So, and that's one of the things I do. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I have mentors, I have coaches, I have people that I pay money to, and I also listen to their podcasts and follow them, and I follow their social media. So I'm constantly feeding my brain because I'm a growth junkie, just like I'm sure a lot of you guys are, constantly feeding my brain with content, with inspiration, with motivation. A lot of times it's not just what am I learning, but it's, how am I being motivated? How am I being inspired? What can someone tell me what message do I need to hear today to inspire me to take action, to be a better person, or to be better at my job, or to get the job? You want to follow those people, the people that are like feeding your soul, whether or not it's a coach or an actual mentor, it's still mentorship.
Good. Thank you for sharing that, Tom. That's very powerful. Also, in your book here, you mentioned the idea of initial benefit statement and unique value proposition. I feel that those are very, based on my understanding, they can be connected in some way. For people that are not familiar with this, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up because it's one of the first lessons I learned. Like, it was probably the early 90s, right? Maybe it was like 1990. It was like literally one of the first trainings that I went through when I was a sales rep. I started out my career selling HMO plans, the company called US Healthcare, and I was going through a training, and they were talking about the importance of the initial benefits statement when you're introducing yourself or when you're making a cold call. And I'll give you this example so that you understand the concept, and then you can apply it to anything. Yes. But if, as a sales rep selling HMO insurance, health insurance, if I called somebody up and I said, "Hi, my name is Tom, and I'm here to sell you healthcare insurance," you would probably hang up the phone because there's no benefit to that person other than, yeah, I'm going to sell you healthcare insurance. So what if you don't need healthcare insurance? What if you already have it now? What's the benefit to them using me? But if I called up and I said, "Hi, my name is Tom Caravela. I'm with US Healthcare, and I have a proven strategy that's going to save you money on your healthcare premiums." That's an initial benefit statement. The benefit goes back to the person. What's the benefit? You're going to save money. Now, that is clearly a very salesy thing to do, but I'm giving this to you as an example. In the professional world right now, and especially in the MSL world, My clients are looking for subject matter experts. So it's important to understand, what are you an expert in? What makes you special? What is your unique value proposition? So we talk about that in the book, and it's all about, what do you have that's unique to you that will make you valuable to, again, value, unique value proposition. What makes you valuable to that organization? So let's just say you're a subject matter expert in oncology, and they are a company that specializes in oncology. Let's say that they have a drug for breast cancer, and you have 10 years of experience in breast cancer research. Well, there's the answer. You are a subject matter expert in breast cancer. So your unique value proposition is, hi, I am Tom Caravela, certified, or, with a PhD in oncology and 10 years of experience treating, breast cancer patients in this community. So the unique value proposition can be used almost as a mission statement or elevator pitch, as an introduction. Now, how is that the same thing as an initial benefit statement? Well, it's similar and almost the same, in that you are letting that other person know how you can be valuable to them and what the benefit would be to them. I have an open position. I'm looking for subject matter experts. You prove to them that you're the subject matter expert that can solve all their problems. There's the benefit. There's the unique value proposition. That's how you position yourself.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's very powerful, Tom. So, I mean, connected to that, there are some stories that you mentioned in your book that was very inspiring. The one from Mike, your friend, talking about warm outreach, and also the one from Gary Johnson. That's also very inspiring. Anything you want to say about either of the two stories?
Yeah, well, the stories that I picked out are ones that resonated with me because they just showed how, when you work, like, I kind of look at my book as a system. And I train people on how to be systematic in their life. So each day, we all have the same 24 hours. The question is, what are you doing with your 24 hours? What time do you get up? What's your morning routine look like? What are you filling each hour with? And if you hold yourself accountable to filling your time with the right activities, you're going to see results. So, for example, the stories that I tell in the book are all about people that have used the tips that are in the book to position themselves for a specific job, and they were successful. So let's just say the branding piece. So the guy Gary that I talk about, he became an expert in branding, and he was notorious for being on LinkedIn in the MSL community, liking, sharing, commenting, he was someone that he actually, like, every podcast that I would announce on LinkedIn, he would like it. He would say, "Oh, this was such a great episode. I loved when you said this." Or, "I just shared this with a friend because this." So he would do his homework. He would listen to the podcast. He would put himself in that community. He would be engaging, and also very complimentary and endearing. Like, how do you not like someone who likes all of your stuff, right? He eventually got to the point where everybody knew who he was, because he would spend, so, like, I don't know, I didn't get an exact, but let's just say he spent an hour every day engaging on LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
that's 1 hour every day. That's 5 hours a week, or maybe if it's every day, it's 7 hours a week. And
Hmm.
then that's 35 hours a month. And then how many hours is that like over the course of 6 months, right?
Yeah.
The whole idea is to be systematic in your approach with the job search activities that I outline in the book. Make it a part of your daily habits, and then that compounding effect will eventually pay off. He's a perfect example.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, I followed the story. It was very inspiring. Just a lot of things to learn from that. Thank you for sharing that.
He's also been on my podcast twice now.
Wow.
He's a very successful MSL. I consider him a friend. His name's not Gary, by the way. That was just a made up name. So
All right. That's yeah, that was going to be my question. So yeah, thank you. You just eliminated one of my questions. That's good. So one of the things that I also know happens during interview is when the hiring manager is interviewing, they really want to know why this person, why this person is trying to get this job. Are they trying to run away from something, or they're just trying to position themselves rightly? So, based on your experience, how can a candidate convince the hiring manager that they are not running away from something? They're trying to walk into something consciously.
yeah,
How can that be conveyed to the hiring manager?
yeah. I mean, there's a very easy way to do that. And the way you convince someone that that they're not running from something, they're running to something, is in preparation and research. And what I mean
Mhm.
by that is I always tell people, I just actually prepped somebody for an interview yesterday, and I explained to
Yeah.
them the importance of understanding who the company is, what they do, what's their culture, what are their core values, what's the latest press that has come out on that company. Go through all the most recent press releases. What's their pipeline? What's their portfolio of drugs? If you're pursuing the pharmaceutical industry, you should know about who they are, what their products are. Are they a public company? What's their stock trading at? Is it up? Is it down? Um, have they made any new announcements? Are there any new organizational announcements? Um, when you do that, you now are going to be sharing information on the interview that would only happen for someone that's genuinely interested in the opportunity in that company. So by doing the research and being prepared, being able to use that information on the interview, you're showing interest. And by
Mm.
showing interest, it shows that you're trying to run towards them. You're not running away from something else. And
Yeah.
this isn't just good advice to like, I'm not just answering your question by saying this is how you prove that you're running to something, but it also is important interview preparation advice to stand out from other job seekers. There's
Yeah.
other people interviewing and they didn't do as much homework. They're not showing as much interest.
Mhm.
They don't know enough about the company. Maybe they don't know anything about the company.
Yep.
Well, you're going to stand out more than them because you're going to be the person that they say, hey, I talked to that Tolu and, he was really buttoned up and he knew all about the company and the product and he really wants to be here. Makes a big difference.
Hmm. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I hope that is true about me. Thank you so much. Also, in your book, um, a statement from Albert Mehrabian, 93% of commercialization and also 93% of communication is nonverbal.
Mhm.
93% of communication is nonverbal. It seems that a lot of people are not really aware of this really high percentage of non-verbal communication. We see somebody without them saying a word, you kind of know whether you want to keep talking to them or you don't want to, or the kind of energy they are giving. My question is, during interview or interaction with hiring managers, how can a candidate make sure that they put their non-verbal communication on check? Because I think I've seen that a lot of people are not too aware of this.
Yeah. Well, this is one of those things people take for granted, to be totally honest with you. I think that, and it's also one of the things that you have control of. So you have control of how you look. You have control on what you choose to wear. You have control over the staging of your environment. Where are you taking the call? Are you taking the call on a cell phone in your car? Or are you taking your call in a very quiet room in your office, in your house, with nice scenery? Is the camera over here where you're like it's kind of a wonky angle, or is the camera in front of you? Um, those are all part of the nonverbal cues. Yeah, there's hand language and gesturing. There's nodding of like as someone's talking. If you're nodding your head in agreement, that certainly is can be considered positive engagement. There's eye contact. So if your eyes are very shifty and you continually look away from that person, away from the screen, it starts to give the person the impression that you're nervous, you're uncomfortable, or you're hiding something.
Hmm.
So this is the basic, kind of the basics of nonverbal communication is what I just outlined, and you have control over it. So
Yeah.
if you take the time to influence all of those things, it gives you an advantage over somebody that um, isn't prepared, doesn't put effort into their outfit or
Hmm. Hmm.
their staging of their background. Um, and be mindful of how you come across. Be mindful of your um, your physical cues, because a lot of times people get really super like fidgety and they don't even realize it.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's really powerful for sharing that. So one of the things that in life we try not to talk about is the likability factor. The
Yeah,
fact that there are certain things that are so not so obvious that can be done that can make somebody likable. And in the case of job search, it starts from the interview, whereby somebody's sitting across the table and they just come across as likable, and there's another person who is not coming across as likable. So during the interview, are there any ways of interviewing? Are there things to say? Are there kind of ways to come across? Are there things to do that can make a candidate likable, even in that room while the interview is going on?
yeah. There's a pretty easy one and a pretty obvious one that most people don't know about. And if you know what people love more
Mhm.
than anything else,
Yeah,
especially in an interview,
yeah.
is they love the sound of their own voice.
Hmm.
So what I tell people, if you want to influence the likability factor, get that person to talk about themselves. Ask them questions about them. So there's a couple of things that you can do to really influence this and use it as a strategy. So one thing
Hmm.
is when I say ask them about themselves, what I mean is that you want to get them to talk. You want to ask them open-ended questions. So I'd love to learn a little bit about, what do you like most about working here?
Hmm.
What can
Yeah.
you tell me about the culture at XYZ company and what do you love most about it? Get them to talk about themselves, get them to talk about the company. That's super important because um, people aren't even going to realize, but they're going to be more attracted to the individuals that are interested in them and interested in what they have to say and what it is um, that that's kind of top of mind for them, so to speak. The
Hmm.
other thing that is kind of easy to do, but you have to be careful in how you go about it, is
Yeah.
compliment people. So, everyone loves a compliment. So let's just say you go on an interview and you found out that that person recently got promoted.
Yeah.
Work that into the conversation. Hey,
Mhm.
I recently saw on LinkedIn I saw on LinkedIn that you recently got promoted. Hey, just wanted to say congratulations. That's amazing. You
Yeah.
must be so excited. I'm sure you worked really hard to get where you are, right?
Wow.
What did that just do? Well,
Mhm.
it's recognition. So you're recognizing somebody for an achievement. It's admiration. You're congratulating them, and that's always a sign of admiration. It also shows awareness. Like, that's awareness on your part. You did the homework, you did the research. It took effort for you to get there. So that shows that individual that you went the extra mile to find out about that person, that you cared about that person enough to do the research and find out, something about them. So when you compliment, when you get people to talk about themselves, or if in your research you learn something about someone. So let's just say you go on their LinkedIn and you notice that they're in a group, and that group is the entrepreneur group of greater Philadelphia area, or I'm in a group called Wrestlers for Business. Well, if I'm in a group called Wrestlers for Business, that means I have a wrestling background. So
Yeah.
maybe when people reach out to me and they're like, "Oh, hey, I noticed that you're in that wrestling group. My son, he's a wrestler right now. Wrestled in high school. I know it's a tight knit community, so yeah, I just wanted to mention that." Like that's so easy. That's low
Right.
hanging fruit, right? But a
Yeah.
lot of people don't do it. So take the time to learn about people, get them to talk about themselves, use compliments, use things that might connect you, and that's how you become likable.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Tom. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Also, in your book here, there are certain things that happens after the interview that's not expected and probably not so exciting for the applicants. One of them is ghosting. Then the second one is the position was eliminated because we are not longer filling this position.
Yeah.
And usually from the side of the applicant, they're trying to wonder what's going on here. So based on your own experience, what would you how would you explain the situation, and what do you suggest that the applicants do?
So what I can tell you is the only way to make yourself feel better
Hmm.
in that situation is to get your next interview.
Yeah.
So if you've been ghosted, if you found out a position's been eliminated, there's two choices.
Yep.
You can focus on the problem, or you can focus on the solution. If you focus on the problem and you call all your friends and you tell them how upset you are that you got ghosted, you call your parents, you call your significant other, you call your cousin, whoever, and you say, "I can't believe it. I just found out that the position is no longer available, or they hired somebody else." And all that time, all that energy, everything that you put into
Hmm.
talking about the problem is wasted effort, because if you took all that energy and focus into getting your next interview, the next interview is the only thing that's going to make you feel better about the setback that you just had with the other interview. Because once you get that interview, now your energy goes towards that, towards the
Yeah.
preparation and the planning and getting that job.
Yeah.
The faster you can recover from that setback, the quicker you're going to feel better about the situation.
Hmm. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Good good advice. Thank you so much. So also reading through your book and also following you for a couple of years now, I understand that you have a career in sales. You eventually got into MSL profession, MSL hiring, and MSL podcast. Is there any reason why make make that transition from um, being the MSL profession? I mean, being in the sales profession, moving to MSL profession, and now being the person that is actually helping people. Any story along the way you want to share?
It's kind of funny. It's not as glamorous as you might think. It was more happenstance.
Yeah.
I really was led. I'm very spiritual, and I think that God has a plan for all of us. And I think that this was my journey. This was the plan He had for me,
Yeah.
because essentially I went from being a pharmaceutical sales rep
Yeah.
to kind of accidentally on purpose winding up in the recruiting business,
Yes.
recruiting salespeople at first.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then I got a call one day from a client that asked me if we recruit for MSLs.
Mm.
I didn't know what an MSL was at the time, but I said
Wow.
yes. And that was 24 years ago. And I've become an expert in the space. I've dedicated my life to it, created the podcast as a result of it, wrote the book based upon my experience, and built a whole company around it. So that was God's plan for me, and I followed it. Here I am.
Hmm. Wow, and we're all benefiting from this. People, people know the MSL podcast have 500,000 downloads and
It's
over.
actually it's actually 600,000 now.
Oh wow, the numbers are going up.
I gave you the
That's
wrong
good.
information. Yeah, well, it's 6 years. It's 6 years, and we've averaged
Yeah.
100,000. So it was like 600. The last time I checked, it was 604,000 downloads. It's like
Wow.
127 different countries.
Hmm.
So
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. We're wrapping up. If you're here, please let us know that you're here. Please put your name in the chat. If you have a question, please put that in the chat so that we can ask Tom. One of
yeah,
the things that we have going on is podcasts, artificial intelligence. There seems to be a surge of these from nowhere. Like everybody's swimming in the waters of artificial intelligence and podcasts and things like that. Based on your own experience, what is the next thing we should be expecting to swim in?
yeah. Well, I think it's important. I don't think people should fear AI. I think they
Mhm.
should embrace it. I think it's very important. Like, we all have time, whether it's at night or on weekends, early mornings, whatever it might be. Instead of getting on Netflix, instead of scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, spend some time learning about AI and AI tools. Specifically, like, go to like a Chat GPT or Claude and play around with it and see what you can learn. Ask it to interview you. Ask it
Yeah.
to learn about you so that it can teach you what you need to do next. So
Mm.
just like we spent this whole past almost hour,
Yeah.
you asking me questions and interviewing me because I'm an expert in this space.
Yes.
Well, you can do the same thing with ChatGPT. You can
Mhm.
interview it, but you can also ask it to interview you to understand who you are and
Mhm.
give you advice moving forward. That's what I
Yeah.
think people should be doing with AI.
Wow. Good. Good. Thank you so much, Tom. We're going to end there. We'll give you back some time. So, because I know you're a very busy person. Really appreciate you being here today, taking some time from your busy schedule to have
Yeah.
conversation. I've learned a lot, and I hope people here have learned a lot. Do you have any final thing you want to say to our viewers as we wrap up?
Well, one of the things I do want to say is I really do appreciate the work you're doing, Tolu. And I appreciate the effort that you're putting in, because a lot of the strategies that I talk about in the book, you're doing. You're putting yourself out there. You're showing up. You created the podcast. You're putting yourself into the right communities. You're educating yourself. You're learning. You're doing all the things that most people really don't do, or don't take enough initiative or effort to do. So I want to recognize that and recognize you. But I also want to thank you for the opportunity to meet with your audience and chat with you guys today. And I want to wish all of you guys great success. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. That's where I
Yes.
post and produce the majority of my content. Check out my podcast, MSL Talk, which is on Spotify and Apple and YouTube and any place you can find podcasts. And check out my book. I know Tolu had, he graciously, shared it with you guys. You can get it on Amazon. And hopefully it helps you out and helps you in your career.
Good, good. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tom. This is the book I really recommend it. I read it back to back, and it's very informative. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you.